Hey everybody, so we are going to be talking about literal equations today, and you'll notice I have a lot of words written out on here, and we're going to talk through them, so just so you guys know what exactly literal equations are. They're just like solving equations, except this time what the difference is that it's an equation with two or more variables. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these things that are important. And if you want to pause the video and write all of this down so that you can highlight with me, that's totally cool as well. Now, instead of solving my variables for numbers, I'm going to solve them for other variables, sorry. So I'll show you some examples in a little bit. But this is how formulas are created. By the way, that's the answer to your EQ that you should have written up here. Now, this is helpful for solving real-world problems. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And the first one that we're going to start off with is one-step equations. I know, you're like, well, Miss Samji, I can do one-steps. You taught me all of that. Well, I know, but this is going to be a little bit different. And we're going to do a recap, and then we're going to show you how to do it as a literal equation. But first, let's write down to solve a literal equation for one variable, use inverse operations. And that's exactly what we were doing when we were solving normal equations as well. So don't fret. And you'll notice I'm only highlighting important words so that if I read the highlighted to solve, use inverse operations, that makes sense to me. And that's basic note-taking skills 101 that will really help you when you're off at college. All right, so I am going to do some recaps here. And all of my recaps are going to be here. And I'm going to do them in a different color. And then we're going to show the literal equations. All right, so we're going to be solving for x, and it's always going to tell you what you're solving for. So solve for x. And the problem is x plus 7 equals negative 12. Well, you know what you would do. You would do your inverse operations here. Subtract 7 from both sides, and you get x equals negative 19. Done. Well, the same thing is going to happen here. And here's a quick little hint that I want you to write down. Okay? I want you to circle what you are solving for. This is super duper helpful when we're working with literal equations. So if I have a problem that looks like this, A plus B equals C, and they've told us to solve for A, well, that's what I'm going to do. I am going to go ahead and circle the A. It's kind of almost anchoring it down and reminding me, hey, I can't touch it, all right? So I'm going to get rid of whatever's bothering it on that side. And what's bothering it on that side is this B. Now this B is positive, so we're going to do a negative, which is the inverse. What we do to one side of the equal sign, we're going to do to the other. You'll notice I didn't put it directly under the C because, well, I can take B away from C. That's like me taking away apples from oranges. That's not possible. That's weird, y'all. So this is going to end up zeroing out right here. And now you've got A is equal to C minus B. And because you cannot combine those like terms, this right here, that right there is your final answer. All right, so let's try another one now. All right, so for this one, we're going to solve for y. And our problem is y minus 9 equals 34. Well, let's do our inverse. And the inverse of subtracting is adding, so we're going to add 9. This zeroes out, and you get y is equal to 43. Yay, you did it. Oops, this is not working with us today, huh? There we go. All right, so we're going to do something similar here. And now we're going to solve for the letter D. And the equation is D minus E is equal to F. So again, it's going to ask us, and it's always going to tell you which variable. So we're going to solve for D. I'm going to circle this variable so I remember, hey, I don't want to touch it. And I'm going to get rid of the E. Now the way that I can remove the E is by inverse operations. And the inverse of subtracting is adding, so we're going to add E to both sides. This side zeroes out. This D moves on over, and you get D is equal to F plus E. And that would be your final answer right there. And oops, my box went away here. That's all you need. So let's try some more. Now the adding and subtracting ones, of course, they're always a little bit easier. But now we're going to try something with multiplication. So for this one, we are going to solve for x. And the problem is negative 6x equals negative 30. Ooh, and we got a negative number here. Well, don't worry. We're going to do the opposite, right? We're going to do the inverse. And right now it's being multiplied by negative 6, so we're going to divide by negative 6. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I'm going to do to the other. Negative 6 divided by negative 6, that one's out. You get x equals negative 30 divided by negative 6. So the way I'm going to do it is 30 divided by 6 is 5. All right, and that is a negative and a negative. So a negative divided by negative leaves us a positive. This right here would be our final answer. Awesome. Now we're going to do something similar right here. All right, and this time we are being asked to solve for the letter R. Now, when you see this equation, please do not freak out. I promise you're okay. I got you. So you've got C, and that's a capital C, equals 2 pi r. Now, this is the formula for circumference, right? They're asking us to solve for r right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to circle the r. You'll remember that 2, well, that's just a number. It's being 2 times pi times r. All right, so we're going to divide everything by 2 to 1 out that 2. But if you recall, pi is also just a number. It's just we write it as a symbol. So pi can also be divided at the same time right here. That 2 is going to 1 out. The pi is going to 1 out. And you're left with C over 2 pi is equal to r. Well, instead of writing it this way, I like to have it that whatever variable they're solving for, we're being asked to solve for, we write it up front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to write r equals C over 2 pi. And that right there, folks, is our final answer. It is really that easy. So you can do this. All we're doing is we're putting symbols and variables in place of the numbers that we've been used to. And you guys are smart. You can do this. All right, so here's our last one and our last operation, which trips up most of you typically. Okay, and we're going to be solving for y this time. All right, and our problem here is y divided by -4 equals 8. Guys, don't fret about this. If something is being divided by -4, then the opposite of that would be to multiply it by -4. And what you do to one side of the equal sign, you're going to do to the other. And notice the parentheses, because if I didn't put the parentheses, it's going to look like 8 minus 4. And that's not the inverse. Now, -4 divided by -4, one's out. So you get y, and it's going to equal 8 times -4. Let's just worry about the numbers. 8 times 4 is going to get you 32. Let's use that fancy triangle we've got again. We've got a positive and a negative. So we're going to cross this down, which means you're left with a negative. And that's our answer. All right. So this one is going to be similar right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve for m. And this is a formula that you're going to end up seeing in your math classes. And I'm sorry, and your science classes, especially your physics classes. All right. This is where science gets it from, guys. Science pulls from math. That's why we're so similar. So you've got capital D equals m over v. And this is the formula for density, by the way. Now, it's asking us to solve for m, so I'm going to put a circle around it. That's my anchor. It's keeping it there. All right, I'm going to multiply both sides by v. Since it's being divided by v, I'm going to multiply it by v to cancel it out. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So it's going to be VD equals m because this will 1 out. But this isn't proper etiquette, y'all. Proper etiquette is that we write it A, what we're solving for. So we're going to write m equals. And when you're writing this, you typically want to do it in alphabetical order if you've got something like this. So instead of VD, we're going to write D and V. At the end of the day, yeah, it doesn't matter, and it wouldn't be wrong. Because 2 times 3 is the same thing as 3 times 2. They're both going to end up equaling 6. And there you have it. So those are how you're going to solve for one-step literal equations. But now, we're going to level up. All right? And we're going to go on to page 11. Oop. And now we're going to do 2 steps. Right, and I want you to highlight this if you've got one. Otherwise, whatever color you're using, make sure you use it. Right, it's going to be the same concept. So we've been doing this. I'm not going to give you any example problems like we've been used to. So here is actually our example number 5. And this is the formula for perimeter that so many of you guys saw in 8th grade. So it's 2 times the length plus 2 times the W. Now it's saying to solve for W. And it could ask you to do either or, but because we're solving for W, wow. Okay, we're going to keep that W there. Now that 2 is kind of really cozy with it, so we'll keep it there first. But remember, all we're going to be doing is using Don't Call Me After Midnight for this sometimes. Or you can do SADMEP, which is PEMDAS backwards. In this case, SADMEP is a little bit easier to work with than Don't Call Me After Midnight. And you're going to do subtraction or addition first. The first thing you're going to get rid of is this entire thing right here, the 2L. Because it's a positive, we're going to subtract it, and we're going to subtract it from both sides. And we're going to go ahead and rewrite our next step now, which is capital P minus 2 times L is equal to 2w. Remember, we're solving for this w, so we can't touch it. We want to keep it there. Now, what's bothering the w is that 2. So, and it's because it's being multiplied, we're going to divide to 1 out. All right? Do not, and I repeat, do not cross out this 2. That's not how this works. If both of them had a 2, that'd be fine. You cannot get slash happy in Algebra 1. Some of you do. Chill out. You don't have a machete here, okay? Just your pencil. You can do a lot. All right, we're going to rewrite it again because we are proper mathematicians. We're going to write W equals P minus 2L all over 2. And this right here would be your final answer. All right, we're going to do one more example. Okay, and in this one, I want you to solve for the letter B. And this is the area formula right here. Now, most of you see that fraction and your body just shut down on you. You cannot let fractions scare you, okay? Fractions are friends. They give you food. And yes, I'm channeling my inner Bruce. 5 points if you know what movie that's from. All right, so what I like to do is I remember that 1/2, well, it's just a fraction, is being multiplied by b, which technically we're going to consider that it's just one thing, and it's over 1. Same thing here, 1. And you don't have to do this step in the middle, but it's just to show you what's actually happening. And when you multiply across, because that's how you're going to multiply fractions, you get 1 times b, which is b, times h, which is h. And you've got BH, and then 2 times 1 is over 2. So your actual formula here, you can rewrite it as BH over 2. We are being asked to solve for the letter B, so we're going to keep that there. The first thing that we see is that this entire thing right here, this top part, is being divided by 2. So we have to get rid of that before we can even touch the H. That's all cozied up next to our B. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this entire thing by 2. And what we do to one side of the equal sign, we're going to do to the other. So now this side one's out, and you've got 2a equals b times h. Again, we are solving for the letter B, so we're going to get rid of the H by dividing, which is its inverse operation. Do it to both sides to balance your equation. This one's out. And we are going to write it like proper mathematicians, which is going to get us B equals 2 capital A over H. And yes, it matters if you're at a capital A or a lowercase. It all means something different. And that would be your final answer. And these are your notes over literal equations. All right, thanks for watching.